Hi everyone, and good afternoon. I'm Lisa Workman and I'm honored to welcome you to the Meet the Candidates event today. As your local business advocate, the Chamber of Commerce, we're committed to fostering a thriving business community. And today we are going to hear from our Fergus Falls City Council candidates from Wards 1 and 1-2. And these will focus on the issues that most impact our business community. So I'd like to welcome our candidates from Ward 1. We have Darren Appert, Jacob Bittner, and Jim Fish. And from Ward 2, Lonnie Ballwig, Mark Leighton, and Leah Oswald. And I do want to thank them all for running for City Council. It is no easy task to be running an election, and wish you the best success. Now we'd like to welcome to the stage the man with the true power. Dave Bishop with Leighton Media will be our moderator today.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. The Chamber's Meet the Candidates Forum will begin with 2-minute opening statements from each candidate. Then we will move on to a question and answer format where each candidate will have up to 90 seconds to respond to each question. The yellow flag will be shown when 15 seconds remain, and the red flag indicates that your time has ended. We will rotate the order in which the questions are answered. This is not a debate. Questions will not be taken from the audience, and we appreciate a respectful behavior, and please hold the applause until the end of the forum. So let's start off with our opening statements. Spend 2 minutes telling us about yourself and share the skills and abilities you've developed that will be beneficial for a position on the Fergus Falls City Council. Darren, we'll start with you.
Hello, I'm Darren Appert. I am a Fergus Falls resident for the past 19 years and 12 years as a local business owner of Appert Insurance Services in downtown Fergus Falls. My wife Cindy and I raised our 3 daughters here. They were part of the Fergus Falls public school system as well as a few years in walking for a couple of different months. They were involved in many of the wonderful extracurricular activities in the school, and a few of them even went on to M-State High School. They got some credits there. So now we have the privilege of watching 4 grandchildren in the community. 2 of the daughters that live here in town, and 1 is in Texas. I believe the strength of the community lies within the families that live, work, and volunteer here. I've been involved in several organizations in the past 19 years, and I've been a part of this community on many levels. As a parent, a business owner, charitable board member, and volunteer, notably OLV School Board, Fergus Falls Gymnastics Academy Board, and Fergus Falls High School Marching Band volunteer. I previously served on City Council from 2015 to 2018, where I was able to see the completion of the library project. I also worked on the initial ideas for the splash pad and very early stages of the swimming pool. I was part of the request also for additional state funding for the RTC and participated on the budget committee and sought to actively increase the street budget. I'm running for City Council again because I feel I still have something to offer this community. I plan to focus on improving our local economy by attracting and keeping businesses that provide good paying jobs and are supportive of families and the community. I will be a good steward of the city finances by attending budget meetings, conducting research, and listening to the people. I will be a voice of the citizens of Fergus Falls by championing your right to be heard on issues affecting you. Thank you.
And just kind of a reminder, talk directly into the mic. You want the mic really close. Okay. Jacob?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jacob Bittner. I grew up in Fergus Falls, was a graduate of the class of 2008. My parents originally moved me here in 2nd grade. You guys might know the whole business Field of Beans. My mom ran a coffee shop in town back in the day, so I witnessed the joys and tribulations both involved in running a business from my parents, just watching what my parents went through. I went to college in Michigan for ski area management, and then I moved out west to work at some various ski areas. So I have extensive background in the ski industry. And then a few years ago, 2019, or actually I was 2022, I moved back to Fergus and was just life kind of brought me to a point where I wanted to return home to a community that I could afford to live in, that just had a community that I wanted to be a part of. All my friends are here, so it made sense for me to come home. I guess the most relevant thing for me and my service to this community is the Fergus Falls Business Spotlight podcast. I've been interviewing business owners for the last few years, just getting to know them, the people that run this community, the people that are the lifeblood of this community, and hearing their stories has really helped connect me to this community in a different way. And so I hope to continue to listen and have conversations with people. I'm gonna come with less experience than either of these two that have served, but I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm here to talk to you guys and have meaningful conversations more than anything. So,
Joe?
I guess I've got my own. I'm Jim Fish. Have lived in Fergus Falls since 1970. Came to work here for Otter Tail Power. Left Otter Tail Power in '87. Went on the road as a salesman. I've had extensive experience in organizations. I was the 1981-82 president of the Minnesota JCs. I have been very involved in the Legion. I'm a medically retired naval veteran. I have been involved with DAV. Also very involved with the Masons, having served there in numerous offices. It's not only Masons, but a Shriner, and also the York Rite of the Masons and the Scottish Rite. In the Scottish Rite, I served as the president of the Language Learning Center in Fargo, North Dakota. That's a center for children 4 to 7 years old that have trouble speaking. Been on the council several years. Have been involved in a lot of things around town, and enjoy Fergus Falls. I think I have a calling for doing this kind of stuff. I know that back in '65 I was in a terrible accident, and the good Lord saw fit for me to live through that, and being there has made me remind me that there are things that I want to see done in town.
Lonnie?
My name is Lonnie Balwick. I've been fortunate enough to build over 20 years of leadership experience across several industries, ranging from hospitality to real estate and business development. I've also spent 20 years in the military. My education in organizational management really kind of suits to help with some of the complex challenges that Fergus has, along with building teams and ending with positive outcomes. I am a husband and a father of 4. My family and I have made Fergus Falls our home. I have been dedicated so far to listening to not just the residents, but business leaders and city staff in some of our development projects. We have striven to drive local development and growth in everything we've invested in Fergus. I've had the privilege of serving on what's called the Friends of FFM, or formerly known as the Airport Advisory Council. The great people on that board have been outstanding to work with, along with the city, who's helped us secure funding and start developing a master plan that should be done here next month. We've worked on important initiatives through that will bring the airport as kind of from a hidden gem of Fergus to more in the spotlight. I've served on the business development board of Fergus Falls as well. We've helped several local businesses with either low interest funding or generating ideas in helping them either expand or renew their business and set them up for success. Our goal is fostering sustainable growth, improving infrastructure, and ensuring transparency. I'm running for City Council to bring these values to the table and to keep Fergus thriving for generations to come. Thank you.
Art.
I first want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event. Secondly, all those that are here and those on the radio. Leighton Broadcasting is a great community representation. Unfortunately, I'm not a Leighton of Leighton Broadcast. My background, I think my patriotic background started as a Boy Scout. I've carried that my whole life. I was a Boy Scout, I was a Boy Scout leader. I've flown a flag in my office since I was, 20. My family lives here. My wife Christy and I live in Fergus. The two boys have grown and are successful in their careers. In 2020, I was approached to run for council because of people's concerns that they had in regards to the budget and capital spending of the city. Someone asked me last night, what is my goal? Why am I doing this? I have no political aspirations. I am a true patriot. It's my goal to bring government representation back to the people from the grassroots up. This has to start at a city, county, your local Senate districts, and to the state. It's the only way we can change this. My background, I've been making financial statements since I was 20. I've studied financial planning, I've studied insurance, I've been an investment representative. I've assisted various companies become very successful. I've spent the last 5 years monitoring and attending many council members. I've studied the budgets, I've studied the audits. I think that makes me the best candidate for Ward 2. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. It's kind of hard to be the last person. I feel like I should just say ditto. But I am probably new to a lot of the faces. My name is Leah Oswald. I am a retired bachelor degree RN who has worked with various businesses in the healthcare and out of the healthcare field. I've been a resident of the Fergus Falls area since 2004. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I am a volunteer for the Lutheran Social Service Senior Companion. Say that fast 4 times. I'm a long-time COVID survivor. I'm a member of the Church of the Nazarene, and my children attended and graduated from Fergus Falls School District. Fun fact, my children graduated from Kennedy School here, and I graduated from Kennedy High School way up in northwest corner of Minnesota, Kennedy, Minnesota. So, we both got to graduate from Kennedy. My values have been shaped by me being a mother, a wife, and a nurse, which has provided me many skills and talents that would make me a good fit for City Council. I have common sense, I have a great sense of humor, and I have empathy for seniors and the disabled in our community. Currently disabled myself, I have to rely on my faith, my family, and friends. A person can get through anything with that kind of support. I have also become more aware of the lack of the access for the disabled in the Fergus Falls community. I've been on many different boards that my kids were in school. Those can be, I guess I can let you know about those if you would like. Why important for me to serve. There's many things, including the infrastructure of Fergus Falls. I guess I'm done.
Okay, let's dive into the questions. You will each have 90 seconds. That is 1.5 minutes to answer each, and we will rotate the order. Question number 1. What are the 3 most important values that shape your decisions and actions? Again, you have 1.5 minutes to answer. We'll start with Jacob.
The 3 most important values that shape
Your decisions and actions.
Shape my decisions and actions. Transparency and being able to have a conversation about anything with anyone. I would say that's an important value. Ethics are huge. I think that a lot of questions often come about the ethics of what's happening in Fergus Falls within public officials, appointed officials. So that's very important to me, being open ethically. And then third, just compassion, having an ability to look at somebody beyond where their political stance is. I think that's really important, to be able to look at somebody as a person and not just attach them to a political ideology. And so, yeah, I guess those would be the 3 values I'll go with.
Jim?
I guess part of my personality is that I'm a people person, and I retired a number of years ago and sat at home for 3 years not doing anything, and then went to Service Food and asked for a job because I needed to be out with people, and I think that's one of the biggest assets that I have, is that I am a people person, and I listen to what people say and try to bring those values back to the council and explain why people want what they want. I'm also a religious individual, and I think that's a good part of any of us that are out there in the public. I think religion has a lot to do with what's going on these days, or lack of what's going on these days. I think we need to get back closer to the Lord and see what's going on. The one thing that always befuddles me is that for years, politics was about compromise, and we no longer have compromise. I would like to see more compromise put back into politics.
Darren?
I'm going to reiterate a little bit of what Jen said. Strong ethics, first and foremost. Insurance business that I'm in, you've got to go through and have ethics classes every year, so many credits. Strong faith, totally believe in that. We're in some tough times coming up here, and we got to rely on somebody a little higher authority, I think. So the strong faith part of it is certainly a big thing for me. The hard work value, I think. I grew up in a farm in south central North Dakota, small grains farm, and learned at a very young age what hard work is, and I'm willing to do that on City Council here. So digging into different aspects of what's needed to be done here is not a problem. I have the flexibility to do some of that with being the business owner I am. I can allot the time needed to get the job done.
Mark? The question is, what are the 3 most important values that shape your decisions and actions?
Thank you. Number 1, I'm a Christian. I'm a patriot. I'm a United States citizen. I hold that very close, very dear. Government has lost its direction. They have totally outspent the ability of the taxpayer to pay. My second attribute would be education. I have a very deep education in accounting, financial planning, balance sheet analysis, determine the difference between need and want spending. I would say number 3, the desire. Again, as I spoke earlier, I have a desire to change this country, one county seat at a time. And I know there are other patriots out there doing the same thing in Minnesota and across the United States. And finally, I'm going to speak for and ethically. I believe my ethics exceed those of the current city administration, mayor, and some of the council members there. I will represent the constituent. I have no political desire to make anything for me. It's all about the best for the city. Ethics to me has all the respect. My handshake is worth more than a signed signature on a contract. Thank you.
Leah, you're up next.
Well, a lot of them were the same, but truth and honesty is, I definitely feel, a big part. But then nowadays, who do you feel is honest? Sometimes I think we've taken away from people sitting in their backyards or playing in their yards or talking to their neighbors, and we're just so busy in life that we forget to just do those small things. And actually, as I've been out running around and doing more of this, I've really enjoyed meeting people that I have never met or seen in different areas of the Fergus Falls area. I also feel religion is a part of me as a person. And I also, part of when people ask me why I wanted to be a council member was because I felt I was led. I didn't just wake up one morning and decide I needed to run for office, believe me. I just felt the nudge, and whether I win or lose, it's been a great experience, but I have enjoyed the ride. And definitely compassion. I think people just need a heart, and I think there's so many people in Fergus Falls that have that, and maybe some don't feel like they have a voice. I feel like I'm a normal mom, nurse, and I can maybe bring that voice to Fergus Falls.
Lonnie.
Three values that shape decision-making and action. You know, the three values I would have, faith, making a plan, and then executing it. Under faith comes multiple parts when you problem solve and you work with other people. Part of that is integrity, which leads itself to transparency. And as Leah said, compassion. Just because your idea isn't the same as someone else's idea, there has to be compassion and middle ground to bring those together. And that's important. Your plan. When everybody has their ideas, you need to focus your plan on how to make it happen. Where do you take your resources from? And prioritize the effort so it's one machine and one motion moving everybody's idea forward. And then the execution of that plan. Bringing it all together, reporting back to residents, letting them know where you're at, finding out where funding comes from, and being upfront from the start. But all of it starts with faith, transparency, integrity, and moral fibers. Thank you.
And we'll move on to our second question. The question is, what specific local challenges or opportunities do you believe our community is facing, and why are they significant to you? We'll start with Ward 1, Jim. What specific local challenges or opportunities do you believe our community is facing, and why are they significant to you?
I think one of the biggest things is housing. There is a lack of housing in Fergus Falls, and we need housing to bring new jobs to town. I mean, if you drive up towards Underwood Battle Lake in the morning about between 6 and 7 o'clock and see all the people coming into town to work here that don't live here. I mean, that's money that we could have here in Fergus Falls if we had the housing for them to be here. It's absolutely a must that we get more housing in order to get more jobs. Another thing is, and I just had it on the tip of my tongue and I lost it, taxes. Everybody is tired of paying more and more taxes. And I'll tell you what, our people that have been working on the budget have been working their tails off to get that number down so that we have not a large tax increase this and I applaud them for doing that, and I believe that's one of the things we must do here at Fergus Falls.
Up next, Derek.
Economic development, we talked about the budget. We're spending money, but we got to look at the other side and try to draw more businesses to town. I do think the housing thing is an issue as well. We have to house people that move their businesses to town. Those folks that are working those jobs, they have to have a place to live. The city has worked very hard this year to keep that tax levy down. It's going to be a challenge. We're not done. They're not done with it yet. So the budget item is a big concern. That going back to the economic development, working with some of these business leaders in town. There's a few of them in the room here, and putting all their heads and efforts together and coming up with a more focused vision on how that thing should be unraveled or how that should be proceed. We gotta have the tax base increased. Otherwise, the other end of it, the budget is going to be a tough one going forward. RTC, that's been for 10 years the big elephant in the room. We've got to figure out what we're going to do with that. There's some monies available, state, federal, other monies available for development for those type of projects. We got to get that off our backs, otherwise we're going to be in trouble.
Jacob.
Yeah, some of the specific challenges that our community is facing, it's not specific to our community, but the cost of everything is spiraling out of control. We have very little control here in our community over inflation as a whole and what it's doing to the world, but what we do have control over is our infrastructure here in our city and how fast we are approaching inevitable projects. I know, I don't, getting in, without talking on things that I haven't educated myself on fully, I just know that as things come up in our city, when we have an infrastructure project that we need done, it's up to the council and it's up to the city to make sure that gets done in a timely manner and make sure we're not spending more on something that we weren't planning for, or even realizing that something's coming up in the current year that all of a sudden costs way more than we had budgeted or we had planned. Another thing that I think our community really needs is just to tap into the recreation. I know we've done some things, obviously for the kids with the aquatic center and the splash pad. I would really, really like to see some expansion. The connection of that bike path from 210 into Fergus Falls downtown would be very, very beneficial for a lot of reasons. And then we'll talk about Old Smoky ski area at some point, hopefully, but that's all the time I have for this question.
Moving to Ward 2, Leah.
I think a challenge is, and I agree with a lot of the people up here, and I stated previously in my first statement was that the housing. I definitely feel we have a lack of housing, whether it's for the poorer, for the middle class, for people that are coming in with jobs. I think part of that was where I feel is when I moved here, there was a Target and a Shopko and all these stores, and it was great as an adult to live here. You didn't have to drive anywhere else. Now we don't have that. Can we do something to bring some of that back? I think our mall is empty. There's nothing in our mall. So if Alexandria can thrive and Fargo can thrive, I don't know why Fergus Falls can't. In regards to opportunities, again, that's where I think these businesses that I think we have a lot of businesses in town, and I know as I've been learning more about the city and what's going on, there's a lot of businesses that are out there that people have no idea that are either here or can work with another business to maybe help their business. I think it would be great to get these businesses to work together, and together we could probably become better to help bring more opportunities to Fergus Falls.
Lonnie.
I don't know, I feel this is my kind of question. I think I could sit up here for hours on this one. Specific challenges I believe that Fergus has is a lack of direction. We need more vision, long-term down the road planning, so we know where we're going. We have had I shouldn't say all of, but we've had missed opportunities because of the lack of planning. I would really, in my opinion, like to see a master plan put in place for the city and a study done with the experts telling us and showing us, hey, this is the direction to meet some of your city goals. We need housing. That can happen. There's infrastructure grants that are out there to help us along the way, but it's very difficult to get those funds without a plan and without this master plan. When we were doing airport work at the advisory council, we noticed right away there were grants available, but we weren't eligible because we didn't have an updated plan for it. That plan paid for itself. It was great, and it guides the direction. It helps with jobs, infrastructure. It gives transparency to the entire city and its residents. And it is nothing but a giant heap of opportunity for us. Thank you.
Mark?
Thank you. The challenges that this next council is going to address, it must address, is to refocus on the fundamentals of a city. Water, sewer, storm, streets, police, fire. That story hasn't changed since 2020. 3 of us brought that information to the city 3 years ago, and you hear more and more about it every year. We need to focus on those fundamentals before we move into any other options of spending. We need to look at the budget. We need to balance and reduce the budget. Right now, in 2023, the city of Fergus Falls spent $2,239 per person. Alexandria spent $994. I have charts for all cities around the same size as Fergus Falls. Information is public. I'm not making it up, and I've been accused of making it up. I also believe that government should not be in the development of economic expansion. Government is reactive, not proactive. We have a plan to institute an independent program to bring economic development to Fergus Falls. And the city of Fergus Falls can support it, but we're going to combine the efforts of the city, the school, the county, and work together. Thank you.
Moving to the third question. Would you support or oppose a third proposal to implement franchise fees in Fergus Falls to fund road construction projects? Please explain your reasoning. We'll start with Ward 1, Derek.
Talk about loaded question a little bit there. That's a toughie. We've got some spending issues that we've got to address. On the other hand, we also have some streets that and every person I talk to in my ward talks about the status of the streets. That's all you hear. That's the only thing I've heard, other than the taxes. So you hardly get one without the other, however. So I think the roadmap that's been in place probably since I first got on council, a couple years into it, we went with a 20% increase in the budget to address those street issues. I don't like another form of tax so much. We'll have to see where some of these monies are going to be coming in, because we're not even done with 2025 yet, and we could be looking at significant tax increase already. And before I would be in favor of adding some more, we're going to have to do some cleaning up on the budget side and reducing something somewhere, and before I would go ahead with anything like that. Just don't believe in extra taxes.
Jacob.
Yeah, if I were forced to make a decision on this today, thank goodness I'm not, I would say I wouldn't probably want to impose these franchise fees, mainly because my limited understanding of them is that this is nothing that gets absorbed. This gets directly passed down to the businesses. There's no, there's some advantages of it. The little bit that I have learned about it, just we got to meet all the city officials and they kind of educated us a little bit about this. This was one of the questions I asked is, explain this to me like I'm a child, and that would be my hope to the city, is that when something comes up like franchise fees, if there's something that the people don't understand, that's a conversation that we're able to rely properly. So as far as using the infrastructure we have and making money off of the infrastructure we have, I absolutely support that. It's just how you go about that. And from my understanding as well, these franchise fees would tap into different base than the property tax. For instance, certain affiliations was explained to me that like a school or tax exempt organization would be able to avoid the property tax, but they wouldn't be able to avoid a franchise fee. So again, I don't want to speak on things, but I'm trying to educate myself on that topic.
Jim?
I did not support franchise fees when they came. When the question was asked a year or two ago, I didn't support them then, and I do not support them now. And one of the big reasons is it's called a fee, but it's actually a tax. It's another tax on the people. And if you look around Fergus Falls, I don't know how many of you know it, but 28% of the people in this town are 65 or older. That's a lot of people that are living on Social Security or their retirement or what have you, and they can't afford to pay another tax. I think there's other ways that we can work around that, but as for a franchise fee, I will not support that.
Ward 2, Lonnie.
Again, I will echo everybody up here so far. That's a difficult question. I haven't heard a lot of feedback in going door to door and talking to the residents in our ward. By spreading the cost in a franchise tax, I agreed with what we had learned in the city council brief that it allows us to capture and place the burden on more people than just isolating it to those that pay property tax. So it would not impact those that have property or that pay property tax as much. So that may be a good thing. However, at the same time, by not having a plan together, we lose out in infrastructure grant funding that could be available from the state and federal government by having this master plan that could offset where we would not need a franchise tax. But at this time, we don't have a plan, and we do need one. I think it would save the city a lot of time, effort, and energy. Along with the taxpayers, it would save us money. Thank you.
Mark. Here.
Thank you. I would not support the franchise tax. Plain and simple, not day one, not now. Government continues to outspend the taxpayer's ability. Number two, I've heard from the council say that it spreads the tax burden. That's not true. I'd like to have someone explain that to me. A tax is a tax. 2 years ago, they indicated that it wasn't the time. I'm looking at 2024 sales tax revenues for the city of Fergus Falls. I'm comparing 2024 to 2023 because that's the recent information I have. For the first 6 months, retail sales in Fergus Falls and online sales tax collections are down $2,555,000 for a population of 14,000. The city budget has averaged about $2.5 million to $3 million on streets. I would say 10 to 15% goes to resurfacing. The rest of it is salaries and equipment. The city budget is no different than a business budget, but you've got to dig for the truth. And a budget for $3 million doesn't mean you're getting $3 million worth of road improvements. It's been more like 300,000. Thank you.
Leah.
I would also support the fact that I would not approve of the franchise tax. I think sometimes we just come up with a different word for the same thing. And I think people don't understand that. Like when I first heard of the franchise fee, I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. That sounds good. Why wouldn't we do that? And then you go to a few council meetings or you start reading up and you find out it's just the same word, just a different name. So I think there are options in Fergus. I think sometimes it feels like it's more of a, we're gonna do this and this is what we're gonna do, what's next? We're gonna do this, okay, what's next? And I kind of agree in what Lonnie was saying on the measure of sometimes we need to like set a futuristic plan and goal. So with that, like I said, coming to the different council meetings, I've learned a lot. And before that, did I ever go to a council meeting? I have to say no. I try to encourage people to go to council meetings or even read the information, but again, there's just so much to know to try to help people make a decision just based on a 15-minute council meeting. But hopefully you'll just come forward and ask questions, and with those questions, I can get you answers. Thank you.
Brings us to our final question of the night. In addition to hosting the Meet the Candidates and a venue for weddings, the Bigwood Event Center offers space for conferences, fundraisers, and meetings for local businesses. How can we maximize the potential of the Bigwood Event Center to benefit the city and its residents? Jacob, you're up first.
The Bigwood Event Center, obviously, from my understanding, again, I don't want to make assumptions, but I've heard it's expensive. I've heard that it's expensive to rent the Bigwood. I think, obviously, the marketing, I know there's a marketing plan that the city is working on with Leighton, actually, potentially coming up here to move that project forward. I think that marketing is huge, obviously, if you want to book weddings here again or bring events back into the Bigwood. This is a line item that, there's very few things that like the city has, like the liquor store obviously generates a lot of money, but there's very few entities the city actually has that they can take advantage of and say, we're going to generate money off of this. And I do believe that this is one of those things. Obviously business conferences, this is a pretty centrally located place. If you're, from Fargo, Alexandria, St. Cloud, certainly this would be a great business conference venue. I think I would like to see some more of that, some more of those opportunities. So, yeah.
Jim.
I think we've taken a step forward by partnering with Leighton Broadcasting on some of this now. It's a great place to host things. We've had through the years numerous things here, and it's been tough. It's tough because you're in competition with everybody else, and everybody else is looking for that almighty dollar, and sometimes we're not competitive, and when we are, we should take advantage of it, and we need to maybe spend more time in marketing the Bigwood Event Center and just see what we can put together for this, because it is it's a huge place for us to have events. Thank you.
Derek.
Yeah, I forget the number, maybe 65, 70,000. I don't know if Anthony's nodding at me or not, but is the number cost in the city. Good idea to do the marketing plan. Hopefully that gives us some answers. We need those answers to make decisions going forward. One of those might be a tough answer. If we don't get this thing going, why wouldn't we maybe make it more of a private entity or sell it to a private entity and let them have the burden, if that's possible. So I don't know that going forward the city needs to hang on to something that isn't having a good vision for it. So thank you.
Moving to Ward 2, Mark.
If you paid attention to the council meetings in regards to my position on the Bigwood, it didn't work pre-COVID when it was independently managed. It hasn't and will not operate post-COVID. And number 3, the fundamentals of a city: infrastructure, police, fire. I didn't hear convention center. The unit, the city's got about $2 million invested in this thing. It costs about $150,000 to maintain on an annual basis. The unit, the Bigwood Center, needs to be sold to a private entity and run in a capitalistic way. The city's not a business entity, it is a government entity. I've looked at the budget, and we can easily cut $1.5 million out of this thing, and this 150 is part of it. The city needs to get back to the fundamentals.
Leah.
Well, for the 24 years that I've been around Fergus Falls, I have not seen anything major come from the Bigwood. Half the time I didn't even know where it was. So you could go, I feel, almost both ways, which is kind of hard, because maybe we just have bad advertising. Because people are looking for wedding venues all the time. So you would think this could be booked every weekend. So what's missing? So do we want to invest in that again and help make that work? Or do we want to not invest in it again? I think even if they had, I know they used to have a restaurant in here, and that would, I think, help people wanting to be here to come as well. So again, I think there's a lot of different ways you can go, but I think it's a good topic that we need to discuss, and I think we need to see what the people want and try to work with the city and make this thing happen. Thank you.
Lonnie.
You know, I've lived in town here for about 12 years now. I think I've been out to the Bigwood Event Center a handful of times. Each time there has to be food catered in, but basically you're renting a room or a space to have a meeting or a conference. I think that we as a city could do a much better job. I do understand that it costs us money, but at the end of the day, I'm not really positive a city is a really good city without a conference center. You can't bring commerce in without a place for them to be that's big enough to house them all. So coming up maybe with a good business plan for it, possibly, but I have not been in all the discussions to hear what has been tried and what hasn't been tried. I would definitely value some input from the residents, and you know, I have my number and my email address to reach out. Getting some input and some ideas, I think would be very, very beneficial, because I think down the road, Fergus is going to be a great place. We have a lot of room for a lot of great opportunity, and it's just how bad we want to reach out to get it. Thank you.
At this time, each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing remarks, in which they may include additional information about question topics and the reasons people should support them. Closing statements will be in reverse order. We'll start with Leah Oswald with Ward 2.
Okay, in closing, I'm just going to say that I was not born or raised in Fergus Falls, but my children were raised here. We feel Fergus Falls is our home. We love to tell people about Fergus Falls, because believe me, north of St. Cloud, they think nothing exists. And it's like we're here, we're beautiful, we have trees, we have lakes, we have ponds, it's beautiful, Maplewood Park and all the things that we have to offer. What can we do to get people here? Again, it's like a circle going round and round, but I think we can work with that. Maybe it's time for a change, maybe it's time for a new blood to help in the city council to get different ideas, to get things rolling, or work with the old. We have, I think we have, looks like with the splash pad and the pool coming, we have things that are good for the kids or the young adults. And maybe now we need to look at what'll be good for the middle-aged to older adults. What do we have for them to do that's being able to keep them active and want to live here? I'm just very proud to say that I'm a resident of Fergus Falls. Like I said, I didn't just wake up one morning and feel like I wanted to run for city council, especially after when I signed up, I got a email with like about 100 pages to read for the next meeting. I was like, oh my gosh. I do look forward to the next 4 years where together we can make Fergus Falls even more beautiful and more productive and a better place to live. And I thank you for your time for today.
Mark.
Private money will always invest where it's profitable and easy. If you want to bring industry to Fergus Falls, you need to reduce the ordinance burden and the real estate tax burden. It's the only answer. I've studied the last 5 years, if not 20 years, of the city's budget. I've read the audits. Spending is up at the city level. Population remains on an average of 14,000. I've already indicated to you the amount of spending that the city spends. Jeff Backer indicated the other night that Otter Tail County and Fergus Falls have some of the highest real estate taxes in Minnesota. If we're going to attract business to Fergus Falls, we need an independent economic development group. I'm prepared to do that. I've been blessed over the past 5 years to have actually been involved with the city council. I started my run in 2020 as a write-in. I lost 2 years ago to Mr. Kwame by 75 votes. I'm prepared to take this city to a next level of ethics, balanced budgets. I have a vast experience in education and finance, insurance, investments. Those advanced studies will help me guide this city. When I hear the city say they worked hard on a budget and it's still up 9%, they didn't work on the budget. I talked to Ben Shire and Andrew Bemsup last year, and I asked them, why don't you invest the time to allow individuals, private industry people, come in and talk to you about the budget? And they said at that time, oh, that's a good idea. I've not been invited once. In fact, I've probably been avoided. I am the best candidate based on that background. Thank you.
Lonnie.
Where we've talked about a lot tonight: values, challenges, opportunities, taxes, and the Bigwood Event Center. But I tell you what, we are all looking to the future of Fergus Falls, and it's very clear that we need strong leadership to guide us through some of our upcoming challenges and some of the greatest opportunities ahead. With 20 years of experience in leadership, business development, and community engagement, I am happy and eager to bring my skills to work for Fergus Falls. I've had the privilege of working on several important projects that have positively impacted our community. We've assisted in several downtown vacancies in getting them filled. Across town, we've been able to attract businesses like Jersey Mike's and now a 24-hour fitness center. As chair of the FFM, or the Airport Advisory Council, we have a master plan in place and are getting ready for growth and opportunity. Beyond some of my professional accomplishments, again, I'm a husband and father of 4. We're dedicated here to our community. And I know that you've heard a vast amount of information and differences of opinions. It's going to take differences of opinions to move us forward. It's going to take compromise. It's going to take integrity and a lot of hard work from a lot of individuals. I know the city staff works hard. I know our current council works hard. And I know us as business leaders and business owners work hard. We've had more than one brainstorming session on bringing in employees and trying to find housing. It all takes time, and it takes a plan. So I hope my vision is right for you, and let's get a plan.
Moving to Ward 1, Jim.
My wife, Barb, and I moved here to town in 1970. We brought with us a daughter, and we had a son here. We have 4 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild, she's about a year old. And we're invested in this community. We've been here 54 years, and we love this town. Warroad used to be our home. We don't call Warroad our home anymore. We call Fergus Falls our home. And I want to continue to be involved with what's going on in Fergus Falls. That's why I feel I'm the best candidate. Thank you.
Jacob.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, Lisa, for putting this on. All of you guys who came, really appreciate that. Shout out that KBRF radio crowd out there listening too. And those on YouTube utilizing technology. One thing I really didn't get to touch on is the Old Smoky project. My background in ski area management gives me insight into that I believe our community has never had. I do agree, though, Mark, with a lot of what you had to say, and in general, like, what is the fundamental role of government? Like, what are we here to do? And ultimately, I did a 45-minute interview with Dale England about this Old Smoky project, and ultimately, my stance on it is this is ultimately something the city should do in coordination with a private, the city owns that land, but I don't think it's necessarily the path forward for the city to operate a ski area. Just looking at any of the assets our city has, we have to ask ourselves whether it's the golf course or the RTC, like, is this an asset? Is this a liability to us? What can we do to take this thing, this entity we have, and make sure that it's not going against our bottom line for the city? So I welcome a lot more conversations. I hope to get some interviews. I'm openly interviewing any candidate who wants to, sort of in a podcast form. If you guys want to check out those shows, find my Facebook page, Jacob Bittner for City Council, and I would love and welcome any conversation with anyone about any topic.
Derek.
The city has made good strides in their accomplishments so far in the downtown area. Among the most notable being the library expansion, probably 8-10 years ago now. Speaks Pavilion, the splash pad, and now the school up by Kennedy. These amenities are an excellent base for attracting business growth in Fergus Falls, which is vitally important to the community for jobs and growth in commerce and tax base. A good example of this is the downtown private development of the mill. We need to encourage continued new business growth to support the future vision of Fergus Falls. I also see a need to address the RTC before it becomes a larger burden to us. My career work experience in the financial and insurance industry, the time I served previously on city council, and my experience on other local boards and charities has given me the background and the knowledge for operations and the ability to recognize that spending in excess is never a good plan. Yet also understand that some things need to be maintained and will cost money. Taxes and street repairs are on the minds of many in this community who I talk to often. It will cost money. If elected, I will work hard to find ways to lessen the impact of us taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer too. Together, we can build a stronger, more vibrant community, and I look forward to working with the people of this fine city. So I think I'm the best candidate for Ward 1. Thank you.
Well, let's give everybody a round of applause to each of our candidates for running for the Fergus Falls City Council. Feel free to stay and have a conversation with them on behalf of the Fergus Falls Chamber and Leighton Media. We thank you for attending, and remember to vote on or before Tuesday, November